personality to his test. He made a specific and direct and eloquent appeal to the religious foundations of this country. And he suggested that when we, in fact, violated the true understanding of our Constitution, it was because we accepted unjust laws and rejected just laws, and the just laws were rooted in a religious and internal sense. I would argue that we depreciate the history of America, and we, in some ways, misunderstand, perhaps inadvertently, the strength of the change that took place in this country some 50 or 60 years ago, which was called the Civil Rights Revolution, if we in fact do not understand the bearing of religious experience and religious values in making sure that we carried out or perfected the promise of the Constitution. I had the privilege of knowing Father Richard John Newhouse, who was an intimate advisor of Martin Luther King Jr. And he said one of the troubling things he believed was the fact that contemporary reporters and historians who came after have never appreciated, either intentionally or unintentionally, the religious value basis of Martin Luther King's appeal on behalf of civil rights. And that's always stayed with me. And I happen to think the words "In God We Trust" encapsulate, in just a few words, the historic relevance and reality of our Constitution and the continuing effort to protect the promise of the Constitution that is still with us, but personified in the words and words of Martin Luther King Jr. And so I would rise in strong support of the gentleman's affirmation or reaffirmation of a national motto that is not ahistorical, but is in fact historical.
Thank you, Mr. Munger. The gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Pence, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman, you recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness and all the comments that have been made on both sides of this issue. I want to speak for a few minutes of strong affirmation of the Forbes resolution, in particular to speak the word of gratitude for the tireless and ongoing advocacy of America's rich religious heritage that is manifested in the life and career of Congressman Randy Forbes. The gentleman from North Carolina said, and I quote respectfully, that this was a solution in search of the problem. I think as we listen to this very thoughtful discussion and debate, clearly it's not a solution in search of the problem. We are engaged in a national debate between deep religious heritage and tradition of the overwhelming majority of Americans practice to this day, and in a rising tide of secularism, driving its way deeper and deeper into the public square, deeper and deeper into the laws of the land that tell us we cannot just make certain displays in public. You know, I like to call the Ten Commandments the inconvenient cornerstone of Western civilization. We don't mention it in the Judiciary Committee room here, court cases broken either way. That's the gentleman just said, but it's, George Washington laid the cornerstone for the Capitol building, and we're not embarrassed about that. The Ten Commandments actually are the cornerstone of our legal system in Western civilization. That's another debate for another Forbes resolution. Let me just say, there's a reaffirming commitment that God leads for us. I think matters on a couple of different levels. Number one, it pays tribute to our past and to our present, but it also facilitates our future. It pays tribute to our past, as Mr. Forbes and Mr. Franks and Mr. Lundgren said, with eloquence of powerful mind. Because this was a nation that was founded on the principle that we derive our rights from our Creator, the they are not given to us by government or by kings. They are given to us by God, and therefore they are inalienable rights. And if we lose that, it's a powerful Jeffersonian quote. It's literally carved into the wall of the Jefferson Memorial. That he said, "I tremble for my nation when I think that God is just, and his justice not going to sleep forever." We can't separate the notion that we are a nation that was built on ethical monotheism, to use a big fancy schmancy intellectual term, is built on trusting God. We can't separate that from the American experience, and I respect and appreciate it. Also, on a contemporary basis in the present, I was involved in the battle over the Visitor Center. I'm ready to get a chisel out myself and head down in there during the construction site and chisel on the wall the words that appear above the speaker's chair. And now, happily, by virtue of some of my colleagues here at the Visitor Center, and greet people as they walk into the Capitol building in God and trust. And it may have been bad staff work, but the fact that the President on foreign soil said that our national motto was "Equal resumed." I'm pretty sure it's the national motto of the Congress, or it's the motto of the Congress, forgive me. I mean, it's up above the ceiling in the House of Representatives. Our national motto is "On God we trust." And I would respectfully submit to the President's handlers that they'll get it right in the next speech. So it's a great tribute to our past that deals with issues that are being debated in the law and our present. I'm pleased the Supreme Court did not grant cert in the Ninth Circuit Newdown case. It rejected out of hand the San Francisco case, which sends a very strong message about where the state of the law is today. But to the point of whether or not this is de minimis, whether or not when the Congress acted back in the 1950s to recognize that God we trust was okay then, but it'd be more than de minimis if we acted. I don't think there's any de minimis about this. You know, the old book says that if the foundations crumble, how can the righteous stand? One of the foundations of our nation is our belief that our rights come from God. And I believe the last reason that it's not de minimis is that I think God is, and He rewards those, including nations, who earnestly seek Him. I honestly don't believe that you can explain the near boundless prosperity and advancement of the United States of America since 1776, other than the hand of providence. And that we have been a people that have bent the knee in different traditions, in different religious practices, but where we have been Christian, Catholic, and Protestant, and evangelical, where we have been Jewish of every different practice and tradition, and even Muslims in our midst, people bend the knee and they look to God. And I think it accounts largely for the extraordinary prosperity of our nation and the reason why we continue to be the hope of the world. So I rise in strong support of the Forbes resolution. I'm grateful to the gentleman for taking action. This is not de minimis in the least. It deals with the past, it pays tribute to that. It deals with debates that are in the present, but it preserves the foundation for freedom and our liberty in the future going forward. And I urge its adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Pence. The gentleman from Iowa, Mr. King.